Trump called the Republicans in Texas and said, give me 5 seats.
I am from Iowa. Frankly, they've been getting fucked.
What kind of authority is in the hands of Democrats when you have the Speaker of the House on your side?
They actually can't find somebody to be the next CDC director. It also shows you how craven and conniving that Elon is.
If Republicans in the Senate fail to pass the Save America Act, Democrats will take control. They just hate democracy. They don't want voters to go and vote.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Find Out podcast. We have a great guest for you today. We have Washington Congresswoman and chair of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, Congresswoman Suzanne DelBene is with us today. Congresswoman, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Great to be here.
So you are one of the most important people in the Democratic Party in making sure that we retake the House in 2026. One, how is it? Well, we're going to just start with, how are you feeling about it? And just give us a little insight into where we are right now and what people could do to help.
Absolutely. So yes, my job is to make sure we take back the majority in the House, take back those gavels. We need 3 more seats. Republicans have a microscopic majority right now. People may forget that. We actually picked up seats last cycle. We picked up 2 seats. We need 3 more to take back the majority in the gavels. To get there, we have 44 seats that are in play. We call them districts in play. 44 seats we think we can flip from red to blue all across the country. We need to net 3. So we've got to keep the folks that we have in vulnerable districts, and we need to pick up 3 or more to take back the majority. And it's all across the country. It's from Tennessee and Iowa to North Carolina and Pennsylvania and Michigan and Arizona, all across the country. I am confident, but I also have my healthy paranoia about all the things they're doing to try to rig the system, because they know they're losing. And so instead of listening to people and talking about issues that people care about, they've decided to try to, rig the system, change maps across the country to change voting rights across the country. And so we're continuing to fight back because people across the country hate that.
I think we know, I know that there's always 2 conversations when it comes to winning elections, right? There's the party conversation, which is always like, don't ever be too confident and let's not imply that we have it in the bag. And then there's the outsider conversation, which when I look at every trend in history, and when I look at the polls, when I look at what's happening in the special elections in November, I'm hoping for a 30 to 40 votes seat swing, not a 3 seat swing. I know that nobody will say that, but what's clear to me is they know that. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows this, which is why we're seeing things like Stephen Bannon talking about ICE at polling places and trying to drip out all of the different things that they're going to do, either to scare people so they think they might be at risk if they go vote, or things they actually do think that they can do to keep people from showing up and voting, obviously attacks on mail-in ballots and that kind of thing. How are you thinking about planning for all of those impossible outcomes that might be on the table? There's 10,000 things that they could do to sow chaos, to stop the House from flipping, to stop the inevitable.
We have to be ready for anything. I'm ready for everything they're throwing at us. They decided, Trump called the Republicans in Texas and said, give me 5 seats.
Right.
And we fought back. We fought back across the country. California with Prop 50. People in Virginia are voting actually right now. But across the country, people stood up because they think they should pick their representatives, not let politicians pick their voters. That's what we're seeing happening. Even the people of Texas hate that, but they never got a vote or a chance to have a say. They're continuing to try to redistrict in Florida. They're trying to attack the Voting Rights Act, and there's a case at the Supreme Court. Depending on that, how that turns out, we might see them try to do redistricting more. But I can tell you, even with what they've done in Texas, people are outraged. They're angry. They've even given us opportunities to pick up seats in Texas. So while they try to go about this kind of attempt to change the system, people's voices have been incredibly strong, and you've seen that in special elections already this cycle. Since November of 2024, Democrats running ahead. We've flipped 30 state house seats in special elections. Republicans have flipped 0. And sometimes the swings have been huge, 32-point swings or more, because people are so angry. So
Right.
they should be careful of that, but we are going to fight back and use all the tools we have, because we know they know they're losing, and they're going to continue to try to do whatever they can to make it tough for folks to vote.
So, Congresswoman, you mentioned Texas briefly, and we all know the story about how Donald Trump called and said, "Give me 5 seats," and they did that. But in order to do, and so the assumption out there is that that is a net gain for Republicans. But looking at some of those maps and seeing how some of those dark red districts actually ended up getting a lot less red because you have to put the Democrats somewhere. What are you and the party thinking about in Texas? Like, it sounds like those 5 gains are no givens at this point.
Not at all, because one, we have great folks standing up to run. Frankly, all across the country, people feel a patriotic calling to make a difference and stand up to represent their community. So we have great candidates that are authentic and independent minded. The American people and the people of Texas are disgusted with what they see coming from the Republican Party. They want folks who are going to stand up for them, not be a rubber stamp for Donald Trump. Even many Republicans, kind of traditional Republicans, want folks who are going to stand up and do their jobs as their representatives, not, again, just be blindly loyal to the executive. And so we have great opportunities because of that, even in places where there might have been more of a Republican, leaning district. Those advantages they have been swept away because people are souring on the Republican agenda. And again, great candidates talking about the issues that matter, who want to go to DC to represent their communities. That's how we win, even in swing districts in Texas.
And what are you hearing from folks across the country? Because obviously you're, as the chair of as we would say in the party, the DCCC. Is it a singular message that is working across the country, or is it a mix and match of things? Because I think it's important for our audience, as we want them to be talking to their friends and family. Like, what are the messages that are really resonating? Because you're talking about big swings here. I think you're talking about that state Senate district in Texas where the candidate was outspent something like 5-1 and did a 32-point swing. There was also this is a fun one, the Mar-a-Lago district in Florida,
maybe,
which nobody expected, a house race, I think. So what is working, and what do we need to keep hammering home to make sure that we are, netting more like 30 to 40 seats rather than just the 3 we need for the majority?
Well, the number one issue across the country is affordability. Families are struggling in every corner of the country. Costs for housing, food, healthcare, childcare, energy costs, all going up, and all going up directly because of actions taken by Trump or Republicans in Congress. People are feeling that everywhere. And I think, so while that is true all across the country, how people talk about it and the specifics and the impact in their region makes a big difference. So candidates, for example, we have 2 great candidates in Iowa who, Christina Bohannon and Sarah Trungariat, who are running to flip seats in Iowa. Farmers have been hurt tremendously by the actions of the administration. Tariffs have raised cost of potash, a big component of fertilizer comes from Canada. When you put those tariffs on Canada, you raise the cost of fertilizer, you make the inputs into farming more expensive, and then you make their access to markets more difficult because other countries not wanting to buy goods from the U.S. if there are tariffs against them. And then you put in place ICE and policies that have impacted their workforce. So if you're in Iowa talking about the impact on farmers, it's about affordability. But you want to talk about how it's specific to that region. That's true across the country in all our swing districts, is understanding what's happening on the ground in those communities. And remember, the House map is, in many cases, pieces of states all over the country. And so having candidates who understand that and are speaking directly about these issues, that makes all the difference.
Well, the Congresswoman clearly did her research because she just referenced Iowa twice.
Yeah, fun fact.
I wonder why. Wonder how that came up.
I am from Iowa, and I've been doing my level best to stoke some anger. I mean, they frankly, they've been getting fucked. They've had terrible things happen to them for the last year now. I mean, practically every decision he's made has hurt their lives in some way or another. And they're angry and they're ready to vote in November. But the question I hear most often is, well, what are they going to do when they win? So I could use an answer. What are you guys going to do when you win?
Also an important question. And I will say that Christina Bohannon, who is running to flip a seat in Iowa, she only lost flipping that seat last cycle. She ran last cycle. She lost by 799 votes. So I want to tell you how close that was in 2024 when actually she outperformed the top of the ticket to get there. And so just to give you a sense of how close it is. But to your point on what we do, it's about talking about what we can do to actually address the issues people are facing. Affordability is a great example. Tariffs need to go through Congress. The executive doesn't get to put sweeping tariffs in place and change his mind in a moment because he doesn't like an ad that's running during World Series, and so decides to put new tariffs in place on Canada. We've got to talk about congressional authority, making sure that we have the say on tariffs, that we are lowering costs there. We need to talk about healthcare. You heard the fight. They've done so much damage to healthcare, making sure that Medicaid is strong, undoing the damage that they've done there, the tax credits for the Affordable Care Act, people's healthcare is skyrocketing. Another example of how important it is. And that the policies that we put in place, tax policy, a good example, is focused on working families, not on the wealthy and the well-connected. One policy I'm a huge supporter of is the expanded child tax credit. When we had that in place, we were able to cut childhood poverty across the country just in that first year, almost in half. Imagine what we can do when we invest in our communities and help our communities to thrive. So there's some examples there. And I think when you talk to candidates on the ground, they will each talk about the specific things that they think are important to put us on a better track and to help the communities they're looking to serve.
I have a quick follow-up on that, because I feel like it's almost a trap that, you can take something in the midterms and the disaffected voter says, well, Democrats have the House now. Why isn't everything better? So I think, you look at the best case scenario, best case scenario for the midterms. Democrats, let's say we win 40 seats in the House and we take the Senate, which would be crazy and amazing. We're obviously not going to have a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate. We're not going to have an impeach and convict-sized majority in the House and the Senate. And so we're still going to run up against the veto. And so that's why I wanted to take a minute to reference, you talked about like the chairs, the committee chairs. Just in the 2-year gap, let's say we can't get the Senate, but if we win the House, can you tell us what kind of authority is in the hands of Democrats when you have the Speaker of the House on your side and when you have the committee chairs? Like, suddenly Donald Trump can't just push things through on a party line vote, right?
Absolutely. First of all, the House is definitely a majority-driven body, and that when you have the gavels, the Speaker gavel and the committee gavels, you really have a lot of authority on what comes to the floor, whether or not legislation even gets a vote. You saw even most recently the funding package that went through the Senate on Homeland Security for FEMA and for TSA and for Coast Guard. They wouldn't even allow us a vote on it on the floor. That shows you what happened. So having Democrats in charge means that we get to make sure bills get on the floor, that we could, for example, challenge the tariffs that Donald Trump put in place, because we could stand up and get legislation through, and make sure that Republicans who say they care too have to vote on it, not just talk and do nothing. But we also have subpoena power. That means calling people in to testify in committees, making sure that cabinet officials have to actually explain what they're doing. We very rarely do you see them coming up and getting tough questions. There's been lots more kind of backroom, closed door conversations as opposed to having them in front of committees, answering tough questions and letting the public hear. That's critically important. Oversight and subpoena power are a key part of having those gavels, and that will be so important to holding the administration accountable.
That's how Kristi Noem found herself out of a job, is by accidentally saying the wrong thing.
So follow up question on that. If you had to pick one person to subpoena and one question to ask them, what would it be?
Well, there's a lot. I'm on the Ways and Means Committee, so I start looking at on the Ways and Means Committee lens and the issues that we bring up. But healthcare, trade. For me, trade and tariffs and what authority they think they have is a big one. But healthcare, which impacts everyone across the country, a huge issue, affordability issue, but also issue that all of us can relate to. I think having RFK Jr. in and making explain why he no longer cares about science and facts and data, healthcare for our communities, vaccines, that'd be a great place to start.
Well, and I saw that, I don't know if people saw this, but there's a report out that they actually can't find somebody to be the next CDC director because no medical professional worth anything will go work for them. So now we just don't have a director of the CDC, which, there could be another virus or other types of things that, like, anybody that has any sort of professional science background or medical background is just, they're not going to do it. So
they say you quit your boss, not your job, right?
Well,
RFK is the boss who everybody's preemptively quitting. Yeah. They don't even want to apply for the job.
Well, and also remember that it's you can do damage really quickly, but it's hard to put it back together again. And kind of goes back to what you were saying. If we lose a lot of great researchers who are doing important work on that next breakthrough in healthcare that could help so many, if we lose those researchers, it will take us more time to help get researchers going again. That's how I started my career, doing biomedical research. These are long-term investments that have given us an incredible return, and they are undermining it. And it is going to take time for us to put it back together. And I think it is important for folks to understand just how great that damage has been. If a rural hospital closes, it's not just going to open up again later. And so I think the public is seeing that too, and that's critically important.
So Congresswoman, I know we've got to get you out of here because you've got another meeting, but I'm so glad you brought up the medical stuff and the fact that, we've got measles spreading across the country now, and there's all kinds of damaging things. So with that, we obviously need, you've outlined, I think, 44 seats that you think are gettable. So we have actually set up a donation page, which we'll put in the show notes below, but we have your red to blue, your 12 districts that are the most likely to move from red to blue. We have a donation form for people on our site to go on and donate through Act Blue so that we make sure we fund these things. But what should people be doing right now to make the biggest impact that they can have to help you flip as many seats as possible?
Well, first of all, if you live in a swing district, either one where you have a Democratic representative who is, we call them our frontliners, our incumbents who are in tough reelects. We have a list of those up on our website, dccc.org, dccc.org. You can give them your support, make sure you are volunteering and helping to get out the vote. Then the districts where are on offense, we also have those listed. And when we start to know who the candidates are in those districts, those are our red to blue candidates. So we'll continue to keep that updated as we go through the cycle. But our vote is our voice. So everything you can do to help get out the vote, talk to people. There are many more things we agree on sometimes than people realize. And in swing districts, people don't always see that while someone might say they're a Democrat or Republican, barriers go up. And I always come back to a conversation I had when I was first running in a swing district where I first started in a very conservative rural part of my community, knocking on a door and talking to a gentleman who kind of rejected me at first and said, "Oh, you're a Democrat, I'm a Republican." And he said, "So I wouldn't vote for you." And I said, "Why?" And that one question of why, just wanting to have him explain. And he talked about healthcare because the ACA, he said the ACA is going to hurt my healthcare. And I said, well, I'd love to understand why too. Do you think we should cover pre-existing conditions? And he said, well, yes, we should do that. And I said, do you think we should let kids stay on their parents' plan, till they're 26? And he said, yes. And we kept talking, and it turns out we agreed on a lot more than he thought going into that conversation. And I want folks to, yes, there are folks who have very extreme views, but there are a lot of people who, if we just talk to each other, we'll find out there's a lot more opportunity there for us to come together, and a lot more opportunity for us to come together and make sure we are electing folks who want to go to DC to actually do the job of standing up for their communities.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think honestly, like, this Trump administration has been so devastatingly terrible that those conversations are easier to have right now, because I think there is a segment, maybe it's not a huge segment, but it's a segment of folks that I think if messaged to correctly, we can get back. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that. Folks should do that. Take the time to talk to their friends one more time and see if there's a door open there. But Congresswoman, you've been very grateful with your time. I know we're a few minutes over. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Congresswoman Suzanne DelBene from Washington. Everybody go to the DCCC.org site, donate all the money, or go to our page that we've set up for you. Let's make sure that the Congresswoman and the team have the resources that they need to make sure that we're flipping closer to 40 than to 3. So Congresswoman, thank you again, and thank you for all you're doing to try to stop this insanity with whatever you can.
No, thank you so much.
Right.
We're going to get there, but we got to work hard.
Absolutely. We're with you. So, all right. Thank you very much. We'll be in touch soon.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, guys, welcome back. I can't lie, I moved. We did not record this right after talking to the Congresswoman, but we are back. She was great. I didn't actually know her before.
She's a good guest. That was a good guess. No, really good conversation. You expect like canned responses, sometimes when you talk, especially with people who are who are not just elected officials, but they're in the campaign
inside,
motion. They're in the fundraising motion, like very, very tight talking points usually.
Well, my understanding of the Congresswoman is that she is much more of a get shit done person behind the scenes. That's why you don't see much like her that often. But she's actually doing the work, and I feel good, because sometimes these sort of the DCCC or the DSCC, which is the Senate side, a lot of times people they want that job for clout and they don't do the work. But she clearly is doing it, and I think the fact that they've identified, she say 44 seats, which is massive. And that's why we have that donation link in the comments below or in the descriptions, which is their red to blue. There's 11 of the most gettable seats. So if you go on to that, and let's say you give $11, each one of them will get $1. Or if you give 100, you could do the math on that as well. And so this is the time to do it, guys, because this is the time to build infrastructure for them to understand how much money that they can spend. So doing this money now, making sure these seats are winnable, means that there are more seats down the line that are also in reach. Because if we can lock these in, we could start playing on those ones in the 20, 30, and 40 range. So
that's one question that we didn't have time for, unfortunately, but we have enough wild cards coming into this election cycle. It's like 12,000 wild cards on the table. But one of them, or even one more, is the fact that there are districts that we would never have we would never have a realistic shot of getting, that are maybe getting opened up now because of the Republicans redistricting, spreading themselves so thin.
Right.
That's an additional thing where it's do you guys have money set aside or districts circled that if they water this down enough, you look at Palm Springs where Mar-a-Lago is, right? It's in Palm Springs.
Wait, no,
not Palm Springs.
That's in California.
What's the other one? There's a Florida version.
Oh my God. What? Holy shit. Why are we so bad at this? I know where that is. What? You keep going. I'll look it up.
Someone from Palm Springs is gonna be like, "You stupid bastard!
You're a fucking idiot."
Fucking doesn't even know his geography. Anyway, So winning the Mar-a-Lago
Palm Beach,
district, Palm Beach, say fucking 50%.
You know what? I didn't even look it up. I just
accurate.
got it as I was googling. I was like, "What is it?" Anyways, Palm Beach.
I got an F on that, 40% accuracy, but I'll still take it. Better than a 0. But no, there are districts like that where if they further water those districts down, we could swoop in and win as long as someone's paying attention. The way that you do that, though, is, again, they have to have enough money to be generous with their money, and fund everybody, which is the same thing with Talarico in the Senate in Texas. It's going to be so expensive. Like, they just need money so that they can make the safe decision to dump it on Talarico's campaign.
Well, and I think that I think they learned a lot from 24 and like what we spent our money on. We had a $2 billion campaign that we went backwards with.
Got jack shit on.
Yeah. And I mean, look, like that wasn't, I am not a blame Kamala. I think she was set up to fail, to be perfectly honest. But now, like, they're doing, like, all of these guys are coming on our shows. All these guys are reaching out to influencers. I think they're actually spending their money more effectively now than they were, or efficiently than they were in 24. So like that dollars actually are going to go further.
Yeah.
And I think I'm so pissed. I just thought of it now. I had a question for her. She never would have answered it, but I wanted to be like, who's the Republican you want to see go the most?
Oh yeah.
But I'm going to pose it to you guys and I'll answer it too. Who is the one, you only can pick one. Who is the guy or woman?
Does it have to be realistic?
Yeah. Can it be like, does it have to be like a real thing?
No, because it's going to be too difficult to mask. But like, if you could pick one person to not have power that they have right now, how about that?
Lauren Bloebert.
Okay.
I hate her.
Yep.
I hate her.
Yep.
A lot.
Okay.
Yeah. With Marjorie Taylor Greene, by some magical gift of luck, I don't know if that's the right expression, but the fact that she's like kind of taken herself off of that list. I mean, obviously she retired or stepped down, but she and Boebert are always at the top of the list. But I don't want to sound sexist, so I was going to look up a quick list of all of the worst people just to make sure that we.
Yeah.
Mike Johnson losing his
he
seat.
could go because we take the majority.
He's going to be unemployed here.
God, I'd fucking love that.
Oh, so
so
my
good.
take on Lauren Boebert is that she is a moron, and we could deal with morons.
She's not a dangerous moron.
But it's
though,
the
right?
dangerous,
Yeah.
like sneaky, smart Mitch McConnell types, right? Who is no idiot. And
I don't want Mitch McConnell to lose his job. That's like not far enough for me.
Oh, I understand. No, I understand.
Somebody needs to throw his fucking ring into Mount Doom already.
Well, I don't
get his last
mean,
Horcrux.
Have you seen the video footage?
Fucking
of him
guy
recently?
can't have much left.
He can't walk anymore. But I gotta
Chip Roy. I'm gonna throw
I do hate
Chip Roy.
So I
Get him the fuck out of here.
I had two guys that I was struggling with who made headlines recently. One is Randy Fine.
Ooh, I hate that motherfucker too.
There's so many.
And the other one was
Andy Ogles.
Andy Ogles was my other one.
Fuck Andy Ogles.
So both of those guys
both
have made horribly bigoted statements towards Muslims. And actually, what was the thing, Luke? He wanted to treat dogs better than Muslims. What was that thing?
Well, they ran amok with this idea that in the Muslim faith, dogs are treated, or that there's a choice between having a dog and living or something. And he was like, I would rather have the dog than have any Muslim people alive. I was like, Jesus.
Yeah. And then
Christ,
Ogles,
what the fuck is wrong with
and then
you?
Ogles said essentially all Muslims should get out because they are incapable of quote unquote assimilating. Which, by the way, the last time I checked, there is no law on assimilation like this.
Also, last time I checked,
why are they so
the Nazis
obsessed with
love that word too.
Why are they so obsessed with assimilation, dude? I don't want Big Macs for every meal for
because
the rest
they
of my
can't
life.
because they can't say kick the brown people out.
Yeah.
So they say that word instead, which most of their people don't even know what that means.
Come here and be like white people.
Right.
And then we can say, wow, you're really well spoken for a brown person. Like that's like their dream scenario, right?
Well, no brown people. They don't want any brown people, right?
Our Get Angry Facebook page has a guy who's now commented 3 times, if they're illegal, kill them all. Which is just like, that's the kind of people that come out when you have elected politicians that say, get rid of them all.
Are you flagging those for hate speech?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. Just checking. I mean, not that Facebook has a great record with dealing with this because they absolutely don't, but
they just reward the engagement. They're like, thank you for commenting.
Well, did you see that they and YouTube got just like, they lost this massive judgment in, was it New Mexico? That basically said that both of them were they had built their platforms to deliberately get kids addicted to social platforms. So I mean, as they should kick that guy.
Subscribe to us on YouTube still.
Please do. We actually need them.
Especially if you're under 18. We're trying to change your mind before you vote.
Don't say that. Look.
I don't know if we're saying, I don't know if we, I don't know if we say that. No,
was a
just yeah. We look, the other part of this is, yes, we do not like these platforms, but we have to play on them or they will dominate the conversation. So like, yes, we can shit on these apps and these, the business behind them, and also understand that we have to play on those places. Otherwise we don't reach anybody.
Well, the thing is, if you leave them, you get with a fucking Twitter thing where it's like, oh, yeah, here's a right-wing playground where everything you say is right-wing.
Dude, I go on there every once in a while, and I just
it is hell on earth.
It is it's awful, and I I didn't engage with those people, and they still shove it in front of you because there's not enough of the other stuff. So it's just,
and the algorithm.
Oh yeah, that's all that's left.
With. Oh yeah. Well, Elon, he is basically 50% of X himself.
Yeah. Well, that's
which is deliberate.
Anytime he doesn't turn himself up on his posts, he gets less engagement than the three of us.
Yep.
And then every once in a while, there's a post that's got like, oh, this has 176 million views. I wonder why.
The discourse is also, it's not that I disagree with, I do disagree with it, but it's also just dumb. Like, their takes are dumb. They're not even like creative. I don't know. Can you say creative racism? That's not what I mean.
You ever see that never woke guy?
Original racism, let's say. It's not original.
That dude's
racism.
Dumber than a sack full of hammers.
Is he the one that wears the MAGA hat all the time?
Jesus Christ. Yes, he is stupid as fuck.
Oh, those guys are just, but like Elon Musk basically spent $40 billion to make sure that he could message a couple 100 million people, which I guess worked, but
it worked.
But anyways, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
It just makes me, every time I talk about right-wing influencers, all I think about is that dude that got on there after Charlie Kirk died, just in a public fucking parking lot, screaming and crying about how he was going to be the next president and blah, 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 blah. And I always wonder, how much money did that guy make? Because there's
that video?
I don't think there's a single left-wing person that I would get online and cry about publicly.
Well, the only thing is, we now know a bunch of these people personally, so like, maybe, but he doesn't know Charlie Kirk.
Is not my thing.
No, look, when a politician passes away that I like, I'm not going to go on my phone and cry about it. Probably, but maybe, depends. I know some of them, but yeah, it's just weird. And also, but speaking of Charlie Kirk, did you hear the latest drama between Erika and Candace Owens?
Oh God,
no.
So apparently, Erika released audio of Charlie Kirk saying that he wanted. I don't know what I don't know the context because I'm not paying that close attention. But apparently, there's audio of him saying that he wanted Erika to take over Turning Point USA if something were to happen to him. And so Candace, who is a crazy, awful these are all awful people. This is why I'm laughing about it.
Yeah.
Was like, release the video or it's fake. So they're just still like they're just pounding on each other, which just
that's while Erika's sending cease and desist to a fucking comedian because she's that upset about that whole Drewski sketch.
So tell everybody what that was. Which is
Drewski
really
is a famous comedian, and he put out a sketch where he imitated Erika Kirk. It was fucking hilarious. Right? In whiteface.
Because he's a black man, right?
Yeah.
So whiteface, kind of like the white chicks look, right? From that movie from like 10, 15 years ago.
She lost her fucking mind. Apparently, nobody informed her that parody is protected under the First Amendment.
Tough luck on that one.
She lost her shit at Elon because it went so fucking
viral.
Well, Elon,
and they resorted to the same fucking lie that they ran with after Charlie got kirked, which was his kids ran to him because they were so freaked out by the loud noise. Never fucking happened, by the way. And then also, Erika's running with this shit about how the daughter saw this video and is like freaked out. Was like, "This is mommy," and it's like, I doubt that happened.
Why is her daughter, that they're all young? Why is the daughter watching YouTube unrestricted?
Yeah.
Social media of any time. I thought, what happened to these like family values that all this shit that we keep being told about? But also, like, you sent a cease and desist to a comedian.
What a dumb idea!
Because
you know what adds to the fire.
Yeah,
exactly.
You want to talk to the manager of the internet. And get something taken down.
I saw that. I saw that video had 176 million views on Twitter today.
Well, she guaranteed
so
its
half of the United States.
Right.
Well, 90 million on Instagram.
Probably
That's
a bunch
like
of people
10
watched
times the Twitter user base.
Yeah, I know. Like,
I don't even know how that's
did everybody?
possible.
Well, the
but-
full version's on Twitter, and all the short ones are on like Instagram and TikTok.
It also shows you how like craven and conniving that Elon is, because he was like, well, wait a minute, this is like good for me. This is like blowing up.
legalized comedy.
I'm not. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, all that hypocritical bullshit. Like, but it was funny that when it was like, oh, this actually is going to help my bottom line, he's like tosses Erika straight over the edge. Like, no
get
problem.
the fuck out of here, Erika.
But that's what they all do, right? They're going to all eat each other alive over the next 2.5 years because they're all battling for, I hate to use the word supremacy, but I think that's probably a good one to use in this case, over the Republican Party or the conservative
Well, it's
movement.
fitting for Elon.
Right? They're all trying to fight to be the next Trump or the next Charlie Kirk. Right? Like that's the game. So they're not even actually paying attention to the midterms because they don't actually give a shit. Like this is about money and this is about power. And they know that they're toast. That's why they're trying to shove the SAVE Act through Congress, which they keep being like, oh, why? That's a voter ID bill. Absolutely is not.
It's not a voter ID bill. It's
not.
a voter suppression bill.
Did you see that? Actually, it was Chip Roy who got caught on a hot mic saying he had to stop talking about the specifics in the bill because his chief of staff it was a woman, and he claimed had to go through hoops because she hadn't changed her name. And this is the thing we've all been saying.
They got Grinder Mike on fucking camera talking about how he thought that turnout would.
Jeez, we're gonna get a cease and desist.
Somebody was telling him that voter turnout would go down by 18% if the SAVE Act went through, and he goes, "Well, that'd be huge for us."
Right?
Huh.
They're just saying
Huh,
the
Mike,
quiet.
are you just saying it out loud that it's a suppression bill?
Mike
Yes.
Lee tweeted and was
I hate that guy
he was
too.
quote tweeting Mark Meadows, and Mark Meadows just like they're just saying it out loud. Again, Mark Meadows said, "I've said it before and I'll say it again." Let's hear it, Mark. If Republicans in the Senate fail to pass the Save America Act, Democrats will take control. And which is like,
You promise?
that's how democracy works, Mark. And then Mike quote tweeted him and said, "If we don't pass Save America, Democrats win in November. If we pass Save America, we have a chance. Failure is not an option."
Right.
Like they just hate democracy. They don't want voters to go and vote.
Right.
They want to stop things from happening because they're going to lose power. They're not even saying like what's going to be like, what are the bad things that are going to happen? They're just saying Democrats will win. That doesn't.
Right. Well, and the only way that their premise works, right, is if there is widespread voter fraud of which we have never seen any evidence. And in
It
fact,
doesn't exist.
most of the evidence, there's like these little like a person tries to commit voter fraud, right? So like there's
Usually
like a
Republicans.
handful of cases, and what we have seen since 2020 is the overwhelming majority of them are Trump voters. There was a couple in Pennsylvania in 2020 where a guy tried to vote for his dead mom. That's voter fraud. But they caught him because you know what? It's not easy. Like the thing that kills me at the voter fraud thing, imagine how difficult that would be, right? Oh, you take New York, for example. I had to show ID when I registered to vote, but when I go, I don't. But what I do is I go and I to give them my name, and they literally cross me out of the records.
Yeah.
How could I replicate that? Like what you need thousands of times. Like
Right.
you need to know the addresses. You need to know the people who aren't going to vote so that it didn't double up. Like it's virtually impossible.
Yeah. And then
to
if
do
they
this.
do go vote, then, and their name is already crossed out, now you're on the hook for like what, felony treason? Like there's some, it's not
felony voter fraud.
These are
yeah.
extremely serious fucking crimes. They're not just like, oh, whoops, you made a mistake. Like, that's people don't do it not because it's tactically impossible. They do it because nobody wants to be charged with voter fraud because you go to fucking prison.
You go to the fucking clink.
I swear to God, these people think that in places like New York, they just like you just go up to a table, grab a ballot off the thing, and like vote and put it away. I honestly think they
and
actually
then you like go to
that.
another polling place and you just do the same thing over.
It is hilarious, like the dichotomy that they have, though, because simultaneously they believe that voting is this just tremendously easy thing to do. It's so easy to fake.
Right.
It doesn't matter. But the system by which you buy a gun, rock solid, absolutely no changes need to be made there.
Right?
No problems there. I got in this Facebook debate with this fucking idiot on my like personal Facebook page.
I believe
on
that.
somebody else's page about the fucking SAVE Act, and I said something about how you It's harder to vote than to buy a gun. And he goes, well, show me a place that I could buy a gun without an ID. And I said, a gun show. Try again, fuckface.
Or
It's
online.
literally the gun show loophole.
And
Like,
he
there's a whole name
lost
for it. It's
his
a whole
fucking
thing.
mind.
But it's true.
It's 1,000%
And
true.
in 30-ish states, you can go online and meet somebody online,
Mhm.
like Craig's, whatever. I don't want to say the sites, but like, you know, everyone knows that one. But like, or the Facebook, you know, it's illegal there, but they get through.
Well, and
You
it's
can-
often against the terms of use of the sites.
Yeah,
but
it's
Oh,
like
100%.
it's
It's
like-
always against
This
the
is
terms.
what's really for sale is in the fourth picture, and then it's a fucking AR-15.
Right. And
Yeah.
you can go, like, if you are in, let's pick a state that none of us are in, Oklahoma. You can go to Oklahoma and you could find somebody that has an AR-15, and you say, let's meet in the shopping parking lot.
Right.
You exchange cash, you get a gun, you don't know their name, you don't know their address, you don't even know if that gun is theirs, and you're gone. And then that gun is untraceable. We have no idea, especially with a cash transaction. There's just no way to know. And
I would bet a fucking testicle that there are more instances of unregistered firearms being sold and gone into the fucking ether than voter fraud.
it's not even close.
I would bet
it's not
every week
even
there are
close.
more
well, no,
of
because
those
it's legal in
than-
30 states.
Exactly.
Like, you could just do it. And I can give you an example. And bad shit happens when that happens. Like, when I am from Maine,
Yeah.
they did change some laws, thankfully, after the horrible Lewiston shooting. But there was a situation in my hometown of Bath, Maine, 9,000 people. And there was an illegal gun sale going through in the parking lot. And somebody handed the gun to their girlfriend. She dropped it and it fired
Oh my God.
and it killed her. So, like, but like, that's what happens when you're just meeting in the parking lot with random people, handing a gun. And by the way, this is the store that I went to when I was 6, 7, 8. Like, this was, and it was in broad daylight, I think. And it turned out that the guy who had either was buying or selling was not allowed to have the gun. But if that gun hadn't gone off, we would never have known.
Right.
So, like,
Yeah.
you're
The same fucking idiots talking about how we protect the police.
They
Don't want anybody to know about who owns a gun. Man, I can't think of any more vital information for a cop to have than
that's
who owns a gun.
why police officers generally are for stronger gun laws and sheriffs are not, because sheriffs do rural areas and police are dealing with it day to day.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I guarantee you, way more gun transactions in parking lots than voter fraud, because the voter fraud is like a handful. Again, like, how would you even construct a conspiracy to be able to manipulate enough votes to make it worth it? Because, like, say New York again,
I'll give you
right?
a hint
got
who, like, the
thousands
only
of
person who's actually tried that is. He's sitting in the Oval Office right now. He called asking about him.
he asked,
exactly.
he asked him to find votes. Yes,
And
he did,
you can
13,000
just
or whatever. Yeah.
Take it as the opposite. He as the president tried to do this and still couldn't. And you look at who's the clown from Tiffany Peters or Tina Peters?
Oh,
There's-
the one
Tina-
from Colorado.
Yeah, in Colorado. And then
Tina
like Heather
Peters, I
Honey,
think.
like there's all these people, and they desperately tried to just like get into voting machines. They desperately tried to like count things or like, put in software that could audit the counts, and they couldn't do anything. Like nobody could do anything because you can't.
It's
like
it's
almost impossible.
difficult, right? Like, and they tried. But I think the thing that shows you like how deluded all these people are too is that, like, to this day they have never seen one piece of actionable information about widespread voter fraud. Not a single piece, and they're all convinced that it exists, and it has never happened. And that's why
Trump
they
just thinks if he loses something, then it was cheating. Like if you start
Right.
with the premise of I lost, or I didn't lose, I can't lose, but they said that I lost, therefore somebody cheated, then you can make up all sorts of things. But
You start with a false premise, you can arrive at any
Oh, yeah,
conclusion.
yeah.
right, exactly.
Well, and they live in a media ecosystem where they're just all Trump is great, liberals are evil, and then in 2020 when 81 million people, which broke the record, vote, they're like, well, there's no way they all voted for Joe Biden. And the answer is yes, everyone hated your fucking guts, guys. Like, yes. And it was in the middle of a pandemic, which got more people off their butts to vote, because it was like, we either go down this path where more people die or we get this guy out of here. And then 4 years later had collective amnesia about it. And now we're right back where we were in 2019, 2020, where it was like, get this guy out of here.
You love it.
Oh, so yeah.
Speaking of getting the guy out of here.
Ooh. What do you got?
How about that No Kings protest?
Woo.
Woo, buddy. That was a good transition.
Yeah, that was a good one.
8 to 10 million, give or take, or the
largest day of protesting in history. It's been interesting because we've heard some folks saying these things matter a lot. And we've heard some people saying these things don't matter at all. What do we think?
I think they matter.
I think anybody telling you they don't matter is questionable.
They either want it to not matter, or they're stirring up animosity, stirring up angst to get.
You're not doing what I want, so I'm not doing anything, and what you're doing is stupid.
Let me tell you how I got there, though, because I'll fully admit, being a dude in a red state my entire life, I always agree with the left-wing protesters, and I have since the George Bush Al Gore election, but I was also a person that for probably the most of my cynical teenage 20-something life, if I saw a group of people with signs, yelling somewhere, whether they were on the left or the right, it's kind of like, oh, well, good for you. You got your signs. Like, what is that actually going to accomplish? But when you look at the trend line of what happened, the narrative, especially of what happened over the past year since the first No Kings, I was thinking the other day about how when the first No Kings happened, that was the same day that Melissa Hortman and her husband were assassinated, which we forget. Oh, yeah. It was also the same day of Trump's fucking psychotic military parade. I remember, I think I made a video straight up pleading with people to be peaceful because I was so afraid. I mean, this is as active duty troops were in Los Angeles. They had been deployed just a couple of days prior to No Kings. So we had millions of people going out. And I remember we on this podcast, we on the left, we were terrified that if one thing went wrong, it would be potentially a massacre. Like there could potentially be an armed conflict between protesters and the government, that people were saying the Insurrection Act, they were saying martial law. Like it was a terrible place to be emotionally and psychologically last June. Mm-hmm. And they No Kings was executed peacefully and beautifully. And that was the first hope we got, because then it was the shutdown, and then it was the November elections, and then all of the things, all of the ways that we've started to win and started to see the momentum turn. No Kings 2 was bigger than No Kings 1. No Kings 3 was bigger than No Kings 2. And now we're in a place where Trump is on his heels across the board. And it's because people didn't give up. They kept making signs, they kept showing up. And if you got to make a sign, if you got to just go see people who are fucking sane on the street to stay in this, then that is absolutely a win. And we should absolutely not be judging that, even if it's not it's not changing policy tomorrow, but it is going to change policy when the time comes.
So I agree with all of that. And I think that anybody who says that somebody else's actions are meaningless is not really paying attention to the broader picture here. You can be a tactician and say certain things, yada, 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 but there are a lot of first-time people that went out this weekend. Yeah. And, we should be cheering people who are getting up and taking action. I mean, the only ways that, autocrats have ever been overthrown in the history of the world is when the people rise up and say enough. And I'm sorry, I think it matters. I think having 8 to 10 million people, which is 2.5% of the population, 2.7, something like that, stepping up and then dominating a news cycle. Also, don't forget, everybody saw those protests, whether they read the paper, whether they were online, or whether they watched the evening news. They saw wall-to-wall people in places like New York City, obviously, where we actually had, I think they had Manhattan and Brooklyn marches, but also in small local communities. My town of Bath, it's amazing they get it brought up twice again, but
they had thousands of people out too.
Tim takes every chance he's got.
Hell yeah. Bath built is best built. Don't forget it.
No,
And but yeah, go ahead, Luke.
you know, if you want nothing else out of it, those people are significantly more likely to get off their ass in November and vote to get shit done.
Yep.
They're going to
100%.
look at that sign leaning against their wall in the garage or in their bedroom or their office and go, "Oh yeah, I still
better
feel
do
that
that."
way."
Or maybe
I wanna do
that person that was sort of on the fence gets dragged to a rally with a friend, and then all of a sudden they find a community there, and they
Right.
find that there's like-minded people like them, and all of a sudden, you know, their outlook on things change. So I think we should, I hope there's a 4 and a 5 and a 6. I don't know if we have enough time to get 3 more in, but you know, I think it matters, and I think because everything seems to be getting worse across the board, right? I just got a push notification about deaths in ICE detention camps increasing because, of course, they are. You know, the stories
They're
of
not going to
people.
decrease.
Well, there's a story about a guy who was going through chemo, got snatched, was in a detention center in Texas, got no chemo in that detention center, and I think they released him like 6 months or a year later. Well, guess what? Too late. They're now talking about hospice for that person.
Right.
While that person didn't get murdered in there, they kind of did. If you know,
His
if
life
it's
was
too
ruined.
late. His life was
Yeah.
ruined.
Yeah.
So you know, I think especially if gas prices are higher, the economy is bad. We're fighting a war now that we're talking about ground troops, right? Like they're really.
I'm never gonna lose the sense of irony that if Trump sends ground troops in on fucking Easter, I will never.
Are they
miss
talking about doing
irony.
that?
Well, I've seen all kinds of shit about ground troops coming in.
Yeah.
Apparently to get a bunch of plutonium or uranium, one of the two.
Oh, they're gonna go snatch the uranium?
Yeah,
That's the specific.
that's the rumor.
What is this? A
Yeah.
fucking like a action movie? Like,
Yeah, I'm not
We should
really
get
sure.
John Krasinski to go do.
yeah, can we get him?
This is what happens when you send in fucking Fox and Friends weekend hosts to be your.
Well, did you
Secretary
see
of
what
Defense.
Hegseth was saying about how they've changed the approach? We're not following any rules. We're not like shackling our war fighters. I'm like,
Oh my god! And
are
every
you
third
saying
word
you're
is
like
legal.
endorsing war crimes.
Lethality and not tepid legality. I'm like, you just said not legality. Like you're more concerned with killing than following the law. That is
Answer? Yes.
literally what you said.
Which,
But it rhymed, and so Donald clapped, so it worked.
but if we don't follow the law, then no one else is going to follow the
Yeah.
law, and then our people are going to be put in harm. It's so short-sighted, and it's this toxic masculinity bullshit, right? It's like I got to pump my chest up to make myself look big, and I'm going to shoot a bunch of people and kill them. So like, yeah, that's why like that movie Team America: World Police, which was released like 20 years ago, is still relevant today because they're just making fun of like how ridiculously stupid all of that is, and it's true. But people eat it up. So yeah. Anyways,
But I did read good news that Trump said the regime change is pretty much already complete now in Iran. So
Oh
he's
yeah,
he is
yeah.
looking for a way out. This is the logic. He said the new leaders are much more reasonable. He's desperately trying to Venezuela this conflict. But what he said was the one regime was decimated, destroyed. They're all dead. The next regime is mostly dead. And he suggested that Iran has moved on to its third regime and that American negotiators were speaking to a whole different group of people who have been very reasonable, because he went from Ayatollah Khomeini, who was like in his 80s, to Ayatollah Khomeini in his 50s.
Yep.
Who he bombed his wife and his dad and his family.
yeah, he literally like killed his entire family.
Yeah. No, there's definitely no way
Great.
that this is going to end worse. We used to talk about like you create terrorists when you bomb countries.
Yes.
And I feel like we stopped talking about that for a while, even though that is literally how ISIS came to be. Like people forget that ISIS didn't exist when Saddam Hussein and the Taliban were in charge. We dethroned, we did beheading diplomacy as George Bush did and as Trump does. And in the power vacuum and the rage, ISIS was born. So now we get to figure out what's ISIS 2.0 that's going to come from Iran because of Trump, bombing schools and killing dictators.
Yeah, it generally does not win over people when you kill their families.
It's not generally a good.
You remember it for a while. You don't go like, you know.
It's not one of those
bygones.
things that you don't really, sleep that one off.
Well, and
Yeah, water
people
under the bridge.
we are inundated with like good and like good versus evil, right? And I think like a lot of these, I mean, obviously people who are cutting people's heads off are fucking awful, but like a lot of these people, they don't think they're bad. They think we are the bad ones because we went in and killed all their people. And I think people have a hard time because of the way that we perceive ourselves, right? World police, like bringing
The
democracy,
liberators.
which in many instances
We're going to bring democracy to everyone.
can be true. But like at Afghanistan, like we propped up Osama bin Laden in his fight against the Soviets because it was a proxy war, right? And keeping them bogged down in Afghanistan, the Russians or Soviets, excuse me, was beneficial. And then we pulled all their funding and left them to get slaughtered. So I'm not saying that Osama bin Laden was a good dude. I am not. But I am saying that like we made him and then we left him and then we were amazed when he was mad at us.
And then we got him.
Then we got him.
And then we killed a whole bunch more people in the process and made the next him.
Yep.
Right. He didn't create ISIS. That actually ISIS was created because they thought that that bin Laden was not severe enough in their tactics. So
weren't all of the original ISIS leaders in American prisons in Iraq after we took out Osama or after we took out Saddam?
Probably.
And then they were all set free at some point, or they escaped. And I mean, this is what happens. Like conflicts don't come consequence free, and that's why you have to have smart leaders doing careful things, not dumb leaders doing reckless things.
Well, that we've got people now who are making everything black and white, and it's like the world is gray, guys. Like, and the way that they've indoctrinated all these MAGA people to believe it's like 100% one way and 0 the other is just madness.
It's because it's a holy war to them. Now they're trying to turn it into a crusade, and that's the best way to make something.
Because those all went really well, right?
Black and white is make it about religion, which is about your identity. So your identity has to be to kill everybody. Like that's the link that they have.
But Rich, I thought we were supposed to shut up about identity politics. I thought we were done with that now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Well, on that note, guys, that cheery note, I think that we are pretty much at time today. Luke, we did talk about a get fucked.
Yeah, Riley Gaines need to get fucked.
There we go.
Because in case you missed it, she got paid to do this fucking ad where she stands there with a big strip of duct tape on. There's this voiceover talking about how she's been silenced by the LGBTQIA plus community, and then she rips the shit off. You're not silenced if you're doing ads, dumb fuck.
You know what? I didn't know anything about Riley Gaines when she was a 5th place swimmer, but I've heard a lot about her.
She's the most famous fifth place swimmer of all time.
Really upset about not getting that 4th place. Is there like a participation trophy for 4th place that she didn't get? Or I'm
What do they give you, like a lead medal?
It's made out of tinfoil.
Yeah. It's a yogurt cup.
It's a yogurt. Yeah. Oh, like at the office, the Dundies or whatever they were. Yeah. It's all about money. It's a grift.
Yep.
Right. She
found
got
a fat check for doing that.
Because she competed against a trans woman who beat her for 4th place. And that is the outrage in which she seems to have made quite a bit of money, at least a lot of attention, off of nothing.
I do wish it were more lucrative to swim than to hate trans people in hindsight.
That would be better.
But she's doing better. She's getting a lot more attention hating trans people than she ever got swimming. That's sad.
It's just that, yeah. Luke, that was an appropriate one. Good one. Short one.
Thank you.
But good.
Thank you, good sir. Real
Good one. I don't want to talk about her too much. So, well, anyways, thank you, everybody. I know we were a little all over the place today. We were also supposed to have Governor Pritzker today, but had a little thing that he had to go do, and he's going to come back maybe by Thursday or maybe next week. So we are very excited about talking to him. But until then, make sure you donate to that Red to Blue page that we have set up for the top 11 swings for November. Let's give them the money that they need to keep going and win so that we can focus on further down ballot races and get more people across the finish line. Also, don't forget to buy some wonderful merchandise. We are working on some more for our other shows. Luke, you're getting Get Angry merch here at some point, right?
Oh yeah, we're debating what we're gonna do there.
Yeah.
So if you've got ideas for Get Angry merch, drop them in the comments.
And I'm not gonna spill it yet because it's not confirmed, but I heard a guest for you guys this morning that is the absolute most
Huge.
perfect guest for you. So make sure you go
Be
subscribe.
on the watch for that.
Go subscribe to Get Angry on the Find Out Media YouTube channel, even though we shit on YouTube earlier, but we still use it. And buy some merchandise at findoutpodcast.com. And I don't have anything else to hawk. You guys have anything else to hawk? I think that's enough hawking for right now. So anyways, guys, have a great day. Make those donations. We'll be back on Thursday. Bye, everybody.